everyone. I'm so excited about this week's experiment, but you probably noticed I do not have my lab coat on. However, I'm very proud to wear this shirt because it's my GEMS shirt, and that stands for Girls Excelling in Math and Science. So all of my young ladies that love math and science, this shirt is for you. So this week, we are going to be reviewing matter. Now, we all know the main three states of matter. We have a solid, a liquid, and a gas. But then there's this fourth state that we're starting to talk more about, and that's plasma. And that is part of a non-Newtonian fluid. So we're going to work with two things today. Today we're going to work with the part of matter that combines a gas and a liquid by making a bubble. Now, we're going to add another ingredient which creates an impossible bubble, which means we're going to see if we can make a bubble inside of a bubble and how many times we can do it. All right, and then for the plasma part, we're going to be focusing on the non-Newtonian fluid of cornstarch mud. All right, so we're going to be making those two things today. So we're going to start with making our bubbles. So what we need is 2 cups of water, a 1/3 cup of dish soap. We need a mixing bowl, a whisk to mix it all up, and then we need the smaller measuring cups so we can have our accuracy. I'm using food coloring because it makes it, more fun. And then I have different things to make bubbles with. I have a straw that comes off of the juice box. I have a dropper that I'm gonna just pop the top off. And then I have plastic straw and a metal straw, just to see different ways to make the bubble. I'm also adding an extra ingredient, which is corn syrup, and that is gonna help us make an impossible bubble to see if it's harder to pop or if we can make more bubbles inside of a bubble. So to make our bubble, and in our case, the impossible bubble, you start with 2 cups of water, actually warm water. So I'm going to add some food coloring because y'all know I like color. And then I get my whisk and I blend that nicely. Now I'm also using the top to a Tupperware box because I don't want to make a mess with the food coloring on my white countertop. And if you have a very light countertop, I'm sure your parents would appreciate you not making a mess. All right, so that's 2 cups of warm water. And then I need a 1/3 cup of dish soap. And then I need a 1/4 cup of corn syrup. So now I'm going to grab a plastic straw and see if I can make a bubble. Trying to make a big one, so let's try that again. Okay, that's a nice big one. So let's see if I can make a bubble inside of it. The impossible bubble. See how it didn't pop? The reason it's not popping is because of that corn syrup. end because the end of this is dry. I'm sorry, not dry, wet. We gotta do that again. No. Isn't that cool? It just popped, but let's see. Can I get inside this one? Now the reason that one popped is because as you go higher on the straw, it gets dry. So I'm gonna make sure more of it's wet so that it doesn't pop. I almost had a bubble inside of it. That's cool. And it popped. Keep going. Oh. I'm gonna switch straws. I'm gonna go with the dropper. That might work better. That's more fun. It's a running bubble. Oh. That's a nice big one. Let's see if I can get another one inside. It's doing it. It likes to move though. All right, we're gonna try with the smallest straw. This is one from the back of the juice box. All right, this is our last try. Oh, I can't believe I just popped it. All right, here we go. All right, got two pretty big ones. I'm still trying to get a bubble inside of a bubble. I did it, but I want it to like make a really cool one. Oh. I think I'm doing it. I like it, guys. It's fun. All right. So I decided to take the metal straw to see how many bubbles I can blow out of that one because I realized that I didn't use it yet. And as I kept breathing into it or blowing into it, it looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna do that a little bit more. Oh, they're popping. Okay, looks like I was more successful with the metal straw, but I was able to get bubbles inside of a bubble. So I made impossible bubbles. And again, because the end of the straw is wet, they don't pop. Now watch what happens when I touch it with my dry side of the straw. They pop. So as long as it's moist, it won't pop. Isn't that cool? And it also pops when we touch it because the oils in our hand make them pop. All right, so that was our review of how air and solid makes a bubble, and they're two states of matter. So now, did I just say gas and solid? Please, y'all know I meant gas and liquid. So let me say that whole thing again. With the bubbles, we're reviewing matter by making air be inside of a liquid. The liquid being the dish soap, the water, and the corn syrup. All right. So now we're going to get into our plasma experiment where we make non-Newtonian fluid by making cornstarch mud. So now we're going to talk about that fourth state of matter that we're starting to talk more about now, and that's plasma. And that includes the non-Newtonian fluids. And that's because these fluids don't necessarily stay in those states of matter like a liquid or a solid or a gas. They kind of fluctuate between the two, depending on its movement. So we're going to be making cornstarch mud, and that is consistent of cornstarch and water. We also going to talk about ratio, which is a vocabulary term, because it's the amount of one item compared to the next item. And in this case, the ratio is 2 to 1, because you need 2 cups of cornstarch to 1 cup of water. All right, so for the rest of the ingredients, I'm using a bucket, kind of large enough for me to hopefully jump in. We'll see. I'll definitely use my hand. And then I need a bowl to mix it in, and a whisk to mix it all together. And of course, I'm using color. All right, so I'm gonna mix it, dump it, mix it, dump it. All right. So following the recipe, I'm gonna use 2 of these, and then I'm gonna put water in 1 can. All right, so I've already added food coloring and I filled it with water. And now I'm gonna pour that in. And hopefully we have a pinkish cornstarch mud. And remember, I have to mix it at like a steady flow, because if I go too fast, it's gonna turn into a solid and not work. But if I stay slow, it's going to continue to work like a liquid. And it might even be better if I get my hands in there. I'm going to try my hands and see if that works better. Yeah. And we got to keep at it until this becomes one solid piece. Notice if I put my hand in slow, it's liquid. But if I hit it fast, watch that, guys. It's not really making a splash. Isn't that cool? It's not splashing, and it sounds like I'm hitting rubber. That's amazing. All right, now I'm gonna try and make a whole lot of those with all of those cans and pour it in here to see if I can run on it or if I'm gonna make a big mess. All right, so again, we see it as a liquid, but when I go fast, it bounces. I can't with how cool that is. All right, now you're gonna watch me pour it. And now I'm going to fill this with the rest of the cornstarch cans. So again, we're mixing a non-Newtonian fluid, and as it's in its calm state, it's like a liquid, as you see. But when I go fast, it does not stick to my hand. But if I go slow, it gets all over my hand. All right, even when I move it, look good at the container. As I go slow, it flows. But if I move it fast, you see it tightening up? That's awesome. So as you saw, if I go slow, it's a liquid. But if I go fast, it doesn't stick. Now, same thing happens with how I move it. I can start here, and as long as I'm going slow, I'm able to go through smoothly. But if I go fast, it breaks up. Also, if I have a pop of it in my hand and I move it fast, you see it's staying solid like a little ball. But the moment I stop, it turns into a liquid. It's messy, but I think that's really awesome. All right, here it is, y'all. I'm gonna see if I can jump in it without getting stuck. It works, it works. And if I stop, I sink. That's so cool. I'm gonna try to run again. It's a little sticky. Ah, that's so cool. All right, y'all. It works. All right, so I'm gonna try to get out. And you see, since I'm not moving, it's dripping off. All right. So to wrap up today's experiments, we played with matter by mixing air with a liquid, and we made impossible bubbles because we added an extra ingredient of the corn syrup. All right, so we mixed that, and it was cool because we were able to make those bubbles. And you noticed, as long as the straw or whatever piece that I was using was wet, it still worked. It popped as soon as I used the dry end of the straw or the oil of my fingers. All right, so that was using the the liquid surrounding the gas. So that's cool because that was two states of matter. And then we experimented with the non-Newtonian fluid, and those are fluids that can be a fluid or liquid in one state and then also change into a solid depending on the stress that you give it. Kind of like we talked about ketchup. It's a little thicker when you're not using it, and in order to use it, you gotta shake it on the glass bottle or squeeze the plastic bottle, because when you move it, it gets thinner. Well, cornstarch mud works the opposite way. When you leave it alone, it stays like a liquid, and when you stress it, hit it hard, or like you saw, jumping on it, it turns into a solid. The other thing that does that, if you remember going back a few weeks ago, we worked on slime. That's also a non-Newtonian fluid, because as you pull it and stretch on it, it gets thicker. All right, so we've reviewed our matter, the 3 states plus 1, including plasma. So we have solid, liquid, gas, and now we're talking more about plasma. All right, guys, see you next time.